Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
Welcome, brother. Another startling night. I have a couple of apologies, but just for the record, let's start off. My name is Jim, the teacher Baldini, and the guy over... No.
That way.
Right? No, that way. How incompetent am I? There you go. That guy over there is my brother.
Namaste.
Poke. All right. What's your name?
John Wick.
John Wick, the lawyer. Yes. So we know we have great names, but this is also, those are the things that we do. So we have a plethora, depending on what your bias is on we have a plethora of knowledge on those subjects. All right. So tonight's subjects, we have 4 segments as usual. Segment 1 is freestyle. We're going to freestyle it with Seymore Views, which is the guy's code name, but it's not his name. I think his name is Joe. But he and Seymore Views versus George, the idiot, Will. We will discuss the contrast between the so-called constitutionalists and the ones who are bad-mouthing Trump and what Trump did, and they're trying to rewrite the Liz Cheney wing of whatever they're going to break away and try to become. And then on the other side, us, the real Americans, the people who believe in God and country, the ones who are the solid real Republicans. And so we're going to have a discussion on that. And of course, then our segment 2 is updates, because we decided to switch it up a little bit just to mess with you. I hope you're keeping up. So the updates are filled with a lot of plethora of information that we're going to give you. And then segment 3, we have a continuation of an earlier segment, Socialists like A.O.C. killing Jews again. So we're going to be talking about that. And last segment 4, is education. And let's lay out a little bit of education. We'll be saying, what is wrong with the educational system. We have an idea, but we're going to talk about what we know and what we don't know. So that is our show for tonight. We're going to start. Remember, like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. The only way we're going to take back our country is by not being shy. The shyness is no longer available. That is no longer an available mode. You need to kick it into high gear. We need to be outspoken. And I want my Trump back. And we're going to, which is reference to Seymore.
You stole that.
Yeah, I did steal it, but I did mean it. I'm telling you right now, for the next 15, 20 minutes, there's going to be a lot of F-bombs. There's going to be a lot of curse words. There's going to be a lot of bad words. So take your children, cover their ears, and
whoa. I will do the official disclaimer. Just tell me when you're ready for the legal disclaimer.
I am ready for the legal disclaimer, brother.
All right,
Go.
as from the lawyer. Okay. Warning.
John Wick, the lawyer.
Warning. Improperly listening to the Ballistic Patriot can cause serious personal injury. Listening to the Ballistic Patriot should be done only by competent adults after proper instruction. Always wear safety glasses when listening to the Ballistic Patriot. Since listening to the Ballistic Patriot operations are beyond our control, we will disclaim all liability for any damages which may result. I just stole that from my Sierra Game King back of my reloading box, but close enough.
Okay. Yes, make
You've
sure
now been warned, and you're now disclaimed legally from anything that happens in the future.
And make sure you're wearing your headphones to protect you from any loud noises.
Wear your safety glasses.
All right. So first on the list is Seymore Views. We're going to talk about Seymore Views. This, my brother brought this to my attention. I have, John, for our viewing pleasure, 5 segments. We'll start at the beginning because they're all great. But I will warn you, not only is there a language thing, but there's also clipping, and the audio quality is not that great. So be prepared. All right, brother, here we go. Seymore views. By the way, here's his line. I want my Trump back. There it is.
We was the biggest producer of crude oil in the fucking world, and now we ain't got no gas. Really? I need Trump back. Anybody else out there need motherfucking Trump back? Anybody else want that fucking Trump back? When was America ever great? We had gas, we had electricity, we had jobs, we had food. Now we sitting at home with no gas. Some people no electricity, no jobs, waiting for a stimulus check, waiting on the goddamn extra food stamps. What's going on? We wasn't going through this shit for the last 4 years. We were winning. And now y'all sitting home being quiet and shit now. Somebody say something. Tell me why the fuck you support Joe Biden right now. Tell me why you support Joe Biden right now. Everybody wanted to get rid of fucking President Trump. What's up?
So that's the first segment. And I think, John, one of the main things about what I like about Seymore Views is what we're hearing is it's not because he's a black man in the, as he puts it later on, in the hood. This is an average American who's out there speaking his mind, and this is what the George Wills will never understand.
To be clear, James, he's at the gas station, looking at the long line of cars. They're just trying to get whatever's left of the. I don't know if you got the cut for the super high test. That's all they have left as it dribbles out. Okay.
Yeah, no, I did see that. There's actually one of the lanes are closed.
For 2030, Green New Deal.
Here we go. He's going to be talking about the Green New Deal with, which, I mean, again, I chose segments that are key to the topic and talking points of what we see from the so-called Republicans, who are the ones fighting for the heart of the party, and the rest of us, the ones that are real Americans, the ones who are going to bring victory in 2022 and 2024. So here we go. Here's his next part 2.
You ain't got no fucking plans for everything to run off electricity in 10 years. You do got a plan to fuck up everything within the next 10 years, but you damn sure ain't got no plan for shit to run off electricity in the next 10 years. You got a plan to fuck up everything within the next 10 years. I want my goddamn Trump back.
I want my Trump back.
Everybody had a lot to say when Trump was in the White House. Anybody got shit to say with this fucking old ass bum in there? Fucking up our fucking country, fucking up the economy. These motherfuckers projected that we was gonna have 1 million new jobs, 200,000 new jobs. And where the fuck are they at? Probably 200,000 illegal immigrants that you motherfuckers piled up at the border got new jobs, but we don't. We hurting in America.
So I think, brother, the other side of this is, and I laughed too. I mean, I've listened to this several times at this point just to make sure the cuts and everything. I will say that at first I laughed, and then I felt like there was, his message is really true. That line where, there's supposed to be 1 million jobs, people are out of work, they can't get gas. He's not even talking just about the gas problem. He's talking about how America is losing now, and how it's so hurt. And the reason why it's hurt is because of the policies of the last 4 months. So I think that's also one of my key takeaways. It's not just, it's easy to say that Biden is bad and his policies are bad, but this is the guy who's talking about real hurt that he's feeling in his neighborhood with his friends and people who are talking to him beyond the gas issue. And it's about being able to feed their kids. So and about how I'll let him talk because he's got some great lines coming up where he cuts through the BS of George Will and Liz Cheney and all those, like the conservative Republicans of New Jersey that I see standing up there saying that Trump was bad for America and bad for this, and some of his policies were good, yet he created the best economy we've had ever. And, I think that what they don't get with that side of the aisle, what side of our party that they don't get, is just the impact that he had and why people like him so much. So here.
Anything. All these kids at the fucking border, guess what? Yeah, you with that shit, you Joe Biden voting motherfucker. Turning your little boys into little girls. You can't tell me you ain't with that shit. You voted for Joe Biden. You with it. You with it. Y'all want to detach yourself from everything that Joe Biden doing like it's just him. No, you voted for him. That's what the fuck you wanted. Own it. Own it. I told y'all back then you was a bunch of fucking useful idiots. Own it. When was America ever great? I guarantee you motherfuckers could wish you could go back to the day that Donald Trump won. That was a good fucking day. You might was mad in your fucking mind, but I bet you your ass was on the way to work. I bet you was on your fucking way to work. I bet you wasn't sitting at a fucking gas station looking for gas. I bet you wasn't waiting for a fucking stimulus check. I bet you wasn't waiting for an extra $300 on your fucking food stamp. I bet you. Want to get rid of Trump. Fuck Trump. Fuck Trump. I told y'all, politicians want to get rid of Trump for one fucking reason, so they can do what the fuck they want to do. It was never their plan for fucking Trump to win 4 years ago. They tried to get my man up out of there so they can do what the fuck they doing now. They wanted to do this shit 4 years ago. They're fucking warmongers. They not for us. Trump got in their way for 4 years. He stopped them son of a bitches from doing what the fuck they want to do. They been wanting to do this shit. They been wanting your little boy to be a little girl. They been wanting this shit not to look like America no motherfucking more. When Trump said, America first. America first, goddammit. Oh, that's racist. I told y'all it was not their plan for Trump to win. I understood why y'all didn't like politicians, didn't like Trump. Y'all didn't like Trump because they made y'all not like Trump. I understand that shit. I understand why y'all didn't like Trump. But why did politicians not like Trump? Why did politicians not like Trump? Because he was fucking up their plan. He was fucking up their plan. They always had a plan to destroy this fucking country.
So, brother, I want to get your take on all that stuff that he just said, but I think Seymore Views should be applying for a Harvard educational professional or professor spot, because this guy has in less than 3 minutes nailed down the entire a big chunk of what is wrong with our government system and our not the Constitution. I'm talking about the politicians, the people stealing our jobs, sending them overseas. This guy has nailed in 3 minutes what a Harvard law and a Harvard professor, a history professor, whatever professor you want to call, can't even touch. They won't even go near it. This guy is so real. I think he should be working at Harvard as one of the professors. Your thoughts?
I'm glad you're gonna let me talk.
Sorry.
I don't know. Do you have any more clips? Do you have any more clips?
Yeah, I got two more clips.
All right. Well, I'll just start with that. The thing is, why would you send this poor, nice, brilliant young man up to Harvard?
Alone,
they're too stupid to understand what he's saying. If the reference is to George Will is not a Harvard professor. His father was. Remember, George Will's father was a Harvard professor in history. He could never be one because he's too stupid. And his son is mentally handicapped. So of all of the three of them, only his son is actually got any type of thinking. And this is, of course, why George Will became an atheist, is because he can't understand why somebody would like himself can't be the Harvard professor that his father was. The reason why is because he's an idiot. He wants to talk in melodious tones like he knows what he's talking about. Right. But he was against Reagan before he was for Reagan, and people should not forget that. He's always been a neocon warmonger, and this guy has put his finger on the problem with the what do you call the Republicans, the limousine liberals and the country club Republicans, and the Chamber of Commerce creeps who thought it was a good idea to make China a peer competitor with us and to ship all our jobs across the border to Mexico and the rest of the world and not have them here for Americans themselves. He's done it, but you can't send him to Harvard. They wouldn't understand a word this young man is speaking, because he's speaking with so much truth in his words. So with the other people, Jeff.
You raised an excellent point, brother, but I will say that this guy, I'm saying he is higher level than them. I am saying he's already got.
He's
them
on a
beat.
higher intellectual level. The reason
Yep.
why is because they think that fancy words make them sound intelligent and gives credence to what they say, and that is true to a bunch of, as he says, useful idiots. However, there is a truth to reality that often men know more than women do. That he speaks, and he speaks in a very visceral way for a purpose, because men don't have time for bullshit. We got to get we got to get to the world is a man killer, and it's trying to kill people. And one of the things that we need is, of course, gas, gasoline, fossil fuels. And he's making a great point.
I'd say that the Democrats are also in the process of doing that too, especially with all the people who have died trying to cross the border, and all the lives that have been risked because of Joe Biden's welcoming him then with open arms.
What are the last two clips you have?
I don't remember, but because he had so many good ones, John. He has so many good ones. I can play. Let's play this one. It's already queued up. This one's about half a minute.
Then when I started this video, he's still there getting gas. He probably got like $7 worth of gas right now. We was the biggest producer of crude oil in the fucking world. I don't know if Russia did shit. I know one thing. I'm 45 and I know for a long time all they want to blame Russia, blame Russia, blame Russia, blame Russia. That's all they want to do is blame Russia, blame Russia. We don't know if Russia did that shit. I don't trust the Democrats. I think their goofy asses did this shit. They telling us that we ain't gonna need no gas in the next 10 years. They fucking with us right now.
Goofy asses.
They ain't got no plan in the next 10 years for everything to run off electricity. They got a plan in the next 10 years to destroy every fucking thing.
John, I gotta tell you, I'm getting those two clips where he calls them goofy asses, and the one where he goes Russia this, Russia that.
And I want my Trump back. That's what the hat should say. I want my Trump back.
We're gonna get that one too, John. Yeah, we will.
I want my Trump back.
Yeah. Our sister says the guy is eloquently stating the issues.
The sisterhood, the sisterhood of liberty, the sisterhood of liberty,
yes,
the Ant of Liberty.
Our sister dove in, on that one. So yeah, and then we have Donna Olson who through this, someone finally saying what everyone is thinking. That's exactly what we're saying. We agree 100%, Donna. You nailed it. And then, of course, we got to put the sister up there. There's a Sister Peg. Sister Peg's quote. All right, so that's what I have. I mean, I'm John. We could play this guy all night. He is amazing. He nails it. He is solid on this. And then I think the next clip is he goes on. He says, "I'm a Republican. I'm a gun carrying. I'm American." Oh yeah.
What about all
the hood?
What about all these stuff about the North versus the South?
If you, I didn't put that in there because it was really grainy and clipping out. It was really bad audio, but I got two more clips. If you want to struggle through them, we can.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's very worth it what the guy's saying.
All right, if you want to or not. I mean, because it's 7:15, it's 18 minutes now. So you want to go on to your?
Right. No, not really. I want to hear what this guy's got to say.
The updates. You want to do your updates?
The fuck I want to say in the hood, because I'm a fucking gun carrying fucking Republican, badass in the fucking hood, and anybody fucking walking on Seymore Views in the fucking hood because you don't like what I say, you gonna get smoked by a motherfucking YouTuber, and that's on God, bitch.
John, you hear somebody in the back yelling because he said that's on God. He said basically tell him stop bad mouthing God. So I mean, it's like this is the part where people don't realize, the neighborhood that this guy is in, and much of the minority neighborhood is a God-fearing, God-loving part of our country. The Democrats don't realize that. They don't want to realize that.
And they don't like it when you turn boys into little girls.
Yeah, they don't, and that's actually one of the things he talked about. And again, really keyed into the issues.
Nobody got shit to say. Side of this shit, but when Trump was in there, they know all the news. Trump grabs your mighty pussy. Trump didn't pay no taxes. Trump got kids in cages. Where the useful idiots? They ain't got shit to say. Nothing to say. You was in the way last election. They told you your vote fucking mattered. Your vote ain't fucking mattered. Your vote mattered to them. Your mind mattered. They keep telling you vote. You voted, now what? I don't hear Democrats all talk about black people no more. I don't hear them talk about injustice for black people and fixing shit for black people, none of that shit. They ain't even thinking about black people no motherfucking more. Every 4 years they come around and act like they our best fucking friend, and now it's back to business as usual, back to war, back to all types of other shit. Sit at home and wait for some goddamn food stamps.
So yeah, that's the last clip that I'll play because it gets the obviously the sound gets really grainy. But again, he's talking about the war. He's seeing it. You know, they got Trump out, and automatically we're leaning towards at least one, maybe even two more wars. John, we got stuff going on the horizon. Taiwan is going to need protection. The stuff going on in Israel, it's gonna drag us into it. And he made the point. I don't know if it played or not, but he made the point that we didn't have any of these problems when Trump was in office. Now, of course, we do. So why is that? It's not because they were all nice and all of a sudden great people during Trump's time. They were afraid of American firepower. They knew he was going to do what he said, and he was going to stand up for America and its allies. Of course, we don't have that with Biden. So, your thoughts, brother?
Oh, you have 9 minutes. Wait, it's 21 minutes. You want to go into your updates, or you want to? I want my Trump back. That's what. That's what I thought.
All right. So you're no longer needing to make any comment.
I can if you want.
Go ahead, make a comment.
21 minutes.
That's all right. We'll figure it out, brother.
All right. So, what do you want me to comment on in particular?
Anything you just heard.
I wish you put the in there too, where he says, where if you want to give them the North, we'll give them the North. We'll be the South, because it does prove it does prove once again that one of the reasons that they tried to white liberals that they sold Trump was that he was a racist. Again, he's not a racist. He's the last thing as being a racist, because as the last election proved, if you just look at what he did, he doubled and I think tripled the size of the Hispanic and the black votes in key places like Florida and Texas, and he would not have won Florida by 400,000 votes if he hadn't taken a huge number of percentage points away from the Democrats in the black community and in the Hispanic community, proving once again that, as he says, that they were lying. They were just useful idiots. The white liberals who who agreed that Trump was a racist, they're saying that he was a racist. Were useful idiots for the left. And where are they now? As he says, are they helping the black community? No, they're not. They're back to the old, let's kill every black baby we can get our hands on, and pretend to help the blacks.
Exactly, brother. So, all right, on to our updates. First off, I want to debut one of our newest memes. I wanted to put that out there for you, brother. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thought you might like that, brother.
Yeah. Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Yes. So we do have some other updates. I just want to throw that in there. We found the former senator of California. She recently stepped down from that position to take another one, and one of her earliest appearances on with Montel Williams.
Long before she met Doug Emhoff, she dated some prominent men, including in 2001, former talk show host Montel Williams. Back then, he was the famous one and had to introduce her to the paparazzi. Now,
so, of course, we have one of her earliest showings on the arm of Montel Williams. Brother, I'm not saying anything, but it seems like some of her being noticed is with other people than for her own abilities. I mean, I'm not trying to suggest anything, but there could be something there. So I also want to bring into highlight moment of, if you remember back 2017, brother, you remember how the Republicans were out playing baseball down in Washington, D.C., and a Bernie supporter came up and shot and almost killed Scalise. Right? You remember that?
Shot a big. He had an AR rifle, and he was shooting up. I think he shot. I think he only got one, but he got one of the police officers too, who finally was able to stop him.
Right, and so they killed him. He didn't survive it. But the idea here is 4 years later now, hat tip to American Thinker, they pointed out that yes, there was in fact now it's considered domestic terrorism. It would be considered domestic terrorism if it had happened today. Now, I want to bring this into a broader issue. One of the topics we've talked about in the past has been, of course, bias reporting and how the Democrats have weaponized the bureaucracy against Republicans, making it more likely for them to find any type of small or even questionable item, or even make it up to say that there's some kind of white supremacy that's been laid out there. Now, like I said before, we did the detailed dive on this with the New Jersey bias report. We found that most of I think it was almost one half of those cases were from minors, from juveniles, and in fact, the rest of them were, there was only a couple hundred. When they said there was 900, it only ended up being like 100. So, and half of those, like I said, were juveniles. So the weaponizing of the bureaucracy to go after Republicans is now going into the next step. Now, we always knew the FBI was, or we suspected the FBI was part of it, and we've seen incidents where members of the FBI have, in fact, used their political or used their connections for political results. Now, this document that you see on the screen is the NDAA Domestic Terrorism Strategic Report. This is from May 14th, 2021. As you go through it, it goes back to 2015, 2019. Of course, the incident I mentioned is in there, and that's where it's noted. But I want to also note, brother, as I do a search for it, I want to look up white, because white supremacy, right? You'll note that they talk about advocating for the superiority of white race and anti-government or anti. So there's a number of these in here, but if you look at the number of where they talk about white supremacy, brother, there's only 14. Now, when I look through this whole thing, I can't find any type of the people who are, in fact, the ones who are the white supremacists. So I would say again, brother, what we see here is, in fact, the weaponizing of the NDAA Domestic Terrorism Strategic Report that has been put out. It is once again been put out there to convince us that most Americans are evil and all Republicans specifically are white supremacists, or at least the majority of the Republicans are white supremacists. So I would suggest that this again is another example of weaponizing. I do want to throw in one last piece. This, my last update, I'm going to throw it in here, brother. This was reported to me by somebody very, very close to me. I live in Sussex County, New Jersey, and this is a local in the area points out, I live in Branchville, close to Route 655, Dales, blah, blah, blah. Is there a range close by where our residents are shooting on their property? This happens often. Well, Sussex County is the Second Amendment home for the state of New Jersey. There's not many places in New Jersey where you can feel free to walk out on your property and pull off a few rounds. But the one area you can is Sussex and Warren County. And so I guarantee you that there is a ton of people, yes, standing on their front porch. Yes, we were related to them. And I'm not going to say there might be somebody on this call right now who has done that. But but yes, we do shoot often into targets that we have set up. And yes, Sussex County has weapons that might be used to shoot. So, yes, ma'am, you are right. You are hearing rifles. You are hearing handguns. You are hearing all kinds of loud bangs. Welcome to Sussex County.
That's because it's America. Duh.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's America. It's America. And anyway, so that's my updates, brother. 9:45, bingo, right there. Now we move on to segment 3, which would be you, I believe, with the socialist like A.O.C. Killing Jews again. Yeah,
one more time. Now it's
the
very
plate
important.
is all yours, brother.
It's very important because these we're going to use the term today because he said it. Goofy, goofy Democrats keep sucking on this nonsense of socialism, and there's a reason for that. Okay, now the great Andrew Clavin says that the reason why Obama it was for the Iranians, and because he had this big idea and he thought that this is a way to give stability to it by appeasing the Iranians. Blah blah blah. Bull crap. No, that's not the reason why Obama was for the Iranians. It's because he hated America for a reason. And it comes out in what all these socialists have in common. So the Squad by A.O.C., Andrea, occasionally stupid, and Cortez, Ilhan, good old Ilhan, the follower of the Prophet Muhammad, who married a brother and is a complete racist towards the poor Jews, and of course, good old Rashid Tlaib. And do you have that clip now?
No, I didn't get that one.
All right,
I got the other one.
In it, she's over the weekend, cheering on the Palestinians as they kill Jews over a complete pretext. Of course, there are unfortunately, the Middle East is now aflame again. Israel is being attacked again, doing nothing for at all. They are trying to kill Jews. Just because they exist, there is a pretext. The pretext for this killing of Jews by the Iranian-backed militias is because in 1948 the Palestinians lost to the Jewish people after they attacked them, and from that time there's been a bunch of court cases, and the Jewish people have been nice enough and sweet enough not to throw them out of their houses as they're not paying any rent or anything for over the last 60 years, and they expect that this is their land. It is not their land. They have lost. They needed to be removed. They should have been removed a long time ago, but because of the anti-Semitism towards the Jewish people, this is one of the hangovers that they've been able to get away with. So that's the pretext upon them using that as an excuse to kill Jews again. Now, it's important to link the Socialist to this because this is the Socialist program. And A.O.C., it's no mistake that the Squad is made up of A.O.C., Tlaib, and good old Rashid. All of these, you can say AOC is not other than that because she doesn't have a history of it before this. But other being a socialist, and I'll get to that into a second. All of these race baiting anti-Semites, but Ilhan and Rashid. And here is the reason: because I have the connection. I can dot the die, cross the T's, connect the dots, as it were, between why socialists are such anti-Semites. And it comes back to this guy, this crackpot by the name of Karl Marx. And this is a great book written by Kengor. Paul Kengor, he's a great historian, wrote a book called, his last book is The Devil and Karl Marx. And while I was listening to this kick off and disagreeing with good old Andrew Clavin that the reason why is because they have this great big idea and they're wedded to it. And no. That's not the reason why the Democrats are so in bed with the killing of Jews and the Palestinians and against the Israelis. The reason is this, and it's variously on page 86. Paul Kengor makes a couple points, and he makes a couple points. One, I'm going to do a little detail about the racism of Karl Marx, because they're both connected to the anti-Semitism of Karl Marx with the fundamental basis of communism, socialism, and the current Democratic Party. Now, of course, as we all know, the National Socialist Party, aka the Nazis, were led by a guy named Adolf Hitler, who called himself a socialist. According to the Strasser brothers, it was never refuted. He literally said, "I am a socialist, but not like your socialist friend von Swervesley. My chauffeur eats the same as I do." He made that comment, so they will never answer to that. Instead, they call themselves Marxists, like the BLM, and they wed themselves to this guy. And that's why I'm going to read his words, because it's so important. You get a feel for good old Karl Marx and the type of compassionate human being he was for everybody else. So you get an idea of what a goofy creep good old AOC is, right? So now this is Paul Kengor writing. A victim of Marxist racism was his son-in-law, Paul Lafarge, husband of Laura. He came from Cuba, born in Santiago, later home of the Marxist revolutionary, I'm sorry, I lost my train. Fidel Castro. Because Paul was Cuban, Marx viewed him as marred by, quote, Negro blood in his veins, prompting Marx to denigrate him as quote, and this is his words, a negrillo and, quote, the gorilla, end of quotes. Marx complained to Engels that Lafarge has the blemish customarily found in the Negro tribe, no sense of shame, by which I mean about making a fool of oneself. Now, that's interesting enough, is a Hispanic person, obviously because he's from Cuban, which is just going to show that good old AC has always been a fake Hispanic. All she is a rich white girl from Queens, whose name was Sandy, who went to a very rich schools her entire life, has a lot of student debt, had a pretend job being a bartender where all they were supposed to do was attract the dumb clients to come in there to pay money while an attractive girl looks at them. She's never had a job, never had a real job, and of course is nothing more than a rich white girl pretending to be a Hispanic so she can forward her socialist ideas. Now that's his racism, but I want to go on to the other page where he talks about his anti-Semitism. And the reason why is because we're getting to the crux of it, where I'm going to dot the I to show that the reason why socialists hate money and, quote, haggling is because they are anti-Semites, right? So here is their founder of their religion, which is what it is, their atheist religion. Marx's single worst written expression of that anti-Semitism, again, Paul Kanger writing, was his painful to read essay, quote, on the Jewish question. The essay was written in the fall of 1843 and published in 1844 in the journal Deutsche Frankensicht Jahrbucher. The article was actually a review of two Bruno Bauer's, another racist, book published in 1843, quote, The Jewish Question and the Capacity of Today's Jews and Christians to Become Free. That's what Bauer had written. The essay is classic Marx, meaning that it is long, rambling, meandering, and largely incoherent and incomprehensible. After paragraph upon paragraph and page after page of wasted ink, Marx finally, about 3/4 into the yet another interminable screed, gets to this something of historical value and personal insight when he cuts loose and lets us know what he really thinks about Jews. And upon reading this, is his words, one wonders how a single Jew could ever speak well of Karl Marx after this, let alone call himself a Marxist. What is the worldly cult of the Jew? Asked Marx. On the his answer, haggling. What is his worldly god? Money. Very well. Emancipation from haggling and money, and thus from practical and real Judaism, would be the self-emancipation of our age. That is the underlying thought of the critique of capitalism. That is the underlying thought of socialism. The reason why the socialists constantly ridicule, quote, capitalism and the free market system is because they are against, quote, haggling and money, because they are against the Jews. All right. Bottom line, the reason why socialism has always been so for killing of Jews is because that's where it came from. That's its religion. Now, fast forward to our man Trump, and just a quick brief while I'm doing it, breakdown of what happened recently. Before this, for the last 4 years, Trump, and he doesn't get any credit for this, is a freaking super genius. As a businessman, he understands leverage. For the last, I don't know whatever you say, 40, 60 years, the Middle East has been one bloodbath after another. Trump comes in and understands and can understand power and leverage, and sees basically this. The war's been between the Iranian nut jobs and the Sunni nut jobs called the Wahhabis. So in the beginning of 1979, because of the weakness of the Carter regime, the Shah of Iran collapsed, putting in place the Ayatollah Khomeini, who was, of course, a complete nut job, French-trained communist who exported his French-trained communism to the Iranian Republic, and then added a particular perverse, weird, really off and really weird sexual stuff. You have to listen to Orlino Fellini, the great liberal orator. It's the reason why they put a fatwa on her for her interview of this nut job. And the wacky combination of radical communism and radical Shia Sunni Shia Muslim Islamism, and so they created began killing Americans, began killing Westerners. Now, not to be undone, the nut job Sunni version of that religion, of course, the Wahhabis took over the Grand Mosque at the end of the year, and had to be expelled from that. And the Saudi king at the time cut a deal with them, and the deal was, listen, you give us the mosque back, we will let you. We will give you money. We will export. We will let you in the madrasas and we will let you train up, teach, and export your nut job Wahhabi extremism religion to the rest of the world, to the Indonesians and to the rest of the world mosques. You just stay in control. And so from the 1970s, thanks to the knucklehead Carter administration, you've literally had one job of what you did was you stepped into a 1600-year war between the Shias and the Sunnis. Just for a little background, of course, the Shias are about 5% of the population. I think it's like 10% of the population now. They believe that you have to be from the blood of the prophet to be the ruler. The Sunnis believe you only have to be from the line of the generals who took over after him, and then they killed over the grandson, and they started this civil war in Islam that's been going on for about 1600 years. They stepped onto it, and the modern version of that is Iran and the Iranians versus the Wahhabis in Saudi Arabia. Now Trump comes in, and what had happened was that the kingdom was after good old Obama gave them $150 billion. The Iranians went and bought all these weapons. They bought all these weapons, and they then began civil wars, a proxy civil war at the bottom of the peninsula in Yemen. And so then they were shooting missiles from Scud missiles into Rahid, not Israel now, but into the capital of Saudi Arabia. So the new crown prince comes in, and he looks at this nonsense, and he goes, he says, this is not working. And Trump leverages this. He leverages this by saying to them, he gets all the crown princes together and says, listen, we don't need your oil, first of all, because we are the number one producer of oil now. Number one. Number two, we don't even need to be here. But we will create a new power, and the new power is with Saudi money, with and they have the prestige of the actual the holy sites, with the Egyptian American trained military and 3,000 U.S. made M1 tanks, and Israel. They will be the counterweight to the nut job instability of the Russians in Turkey and the Russians in Iran, or just the crazy Iranians as they are. And that was the deal that created Mideast peace. And he had I think 5 countries sign into that deal. And that's why no Jews were being killed in his when he was president of America. Now to circle on back, come around. Now we are all the way back around. Biden comes in, doesn't talk to Ben Netanyahu. That's giving the green light to the Palestinians. The Biden administration says the green light to the Iranians. We're going to give you more money so they start up the good old tradition of extorting money out of people in the Middle East by killing Jews. And so we are back to where we were before Trump. And now that we've been here I can circle back and circle it all around by saying one simple thing by the smartest guy I've heard in a long time, because it's 445 minus is I want my Trump back so they can stop killing Jews. I want my Trump back.
All right, brother. Thank you. This is very solid. Very solid. All
Paul
right,
Kengo's book. Read it.
all right. So the next part is education. We're going to be talking. This section has got to do a lot with what's been going on in New Jersey schools. Now, the purpose of this is to point out some key facts that you may or may not, you probably don't know about, because quite honestly, it's not something, unless you've had this conversation with somebody about it, unless you've talked to them about it, and actually talked to somebody in some of the districts that we're going to talk about, you really don't know what's going on in our schools. Trust me, it's a mystery to you. Suffice it to say, there's a number of times, quick background, a number of years ago, back in, I think it was 30, 40, 50, maybe even 50 years ago, the state took over a bunch of schools that were failing and have been failing schools. I don't remember the exact date. I apologize. But they were called better known as Abbott districts. They're districts like Newark, Camden, Asbury Park. Many of these districts had what you would expect: bad test scores or bad educational practices. Now, that hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. Despite everything that the state will say that they're doing, and despite everything that the state will say that they're a part of, they have yet to fix this system that is broke. And, they're not going to fix it anytime soon. So what's going on with this is, I'm going to share now with you on the screen. You'll see this is my compilation of some data. All of these schools on the left are considered the district factor group, which is the low end of the low end of that scale. All the schools are rated based off of their based off a number of points, data points, and you'll see these are, to break it down, these are your science. In yellow is your science proficient, partially proficient. Now, before I go any further, what does that mean? Partially proficient means you have not achieved proficiency, obviously, have not achieved the proficiency or the true understanding of whatever the subject may be. And the three major subjects are science, math, and English. ELA is also known as English. So look at it like this. You'll see that these districts, for example, break down here, 1% of students are proficient in Asbury Park in science. 17.1 are proficient in language arts. This one is so low that they don't even tell you. That's how low it is to keep student privacy. But you can go down this list and you can see many of these numbers some of them are in their teens, they're in their 20s, they're in their 30s. Now, biggest complaint is these districts get a lot of money from districts that aren't the Abbott districts, and they are not performing well. And here's a big, red flag, call it a red flag. If you look at the graduation rate, now I just told you 1% of the students who are in the 11th grade are proficient in science, 1%. Yet 77.6% are graduating. How does that work? So one of the big issues that we face in our schools and our colleges isn't just, in our tech schools or tech colleges, isn't just the fact that the left is taking them over and the educational practices that they're doing are indoctrinating our kids. That's also happening on our school level within the K to 12 or pre-K to 12 system. So we know that that's happening. That's part of the issue. That's definitely part of the issue. The problem is these kids are going on to college and trade school, not able to string a sentence together and not able to figure out what 2 + 2 is or some other math equation. They can't even, in some cases, figure out what the numbers mean. So this is a major problem for our future, but it's also a major problem for these districts and the people who live there. Now, please also then take the next note. You'll see that this here is the demographics of the particular these Abbott districts. They are 96.5 minority, 60.9 economic disadvantaged. So these are not, and what you don't see here is this, because I didn't fill it in, but John, who do you think is in charge of most, if not all, of these cities? Which party?
Would that be the Democrats?
Very good, brother. Very good. So we see the Democrats are the ones who are destroying the cities. Now, this isn't really talked about, but because they just say it, you're destroying our cities. Our kids are not getting educated, but there's really no connection to it. How can you drive the message home? How can you get the message out? What's the evidence? So first off, just to go with where the evidence is, state of New Jersey gave me all this evidence. This is where I got it. This is the official site of the state of New Jersey. You can see it gives a school year performance report. The latest one is really not this year or last year. It's the 2018-2019 because of COVID. They didn't do the testing for last year. They didn't do the testing for this year. So this information is out there and it is available. It's something anybody can pick up. But what I'm about to tell you, I picked up from my sources who worked in the district, some of these districts, and also from what I saw and watched online. You'll note this gentleman right here. He is the chair. Was the state educational commissioner. Leperette, I think is his name. I'm not really sure how to say his name, but that's immaterial. He is the former superintendent of Asbury Park. I want to point this out because this guy right here broke down into why the policies that he implemented within Asbury Park should be implemented statewide. So now we get to the meat of it. This is where you should be paying attention. So make sure you put your eyeballs and ears on this. There's a plan out there. There's two plans that I'm going to talk about. The first one is the 64 floor plan. Now, what is 64 floor? 64 floor, and this goes a hat tip to New Jersey Education Report, which does a great job of breaking it down. Even though this article is a year old, it is still well worth a read. The point is, the 64 floors, every student is given for the first marking period, second marking period, third marking period. The lowest grade they can get on their report card is a 64. Now, to be clear, if a student does nothing for 3 marking periods, they hand in 0 assignments. The lowest that teacher can give them is a 64 for 3 marking periods, for all 4 marking periods, truthfully. But this is what happens. In the 4th marking period, I got to graduate. I'm not going to be able to move on to the next grade. What do I do? What do I do? They, in fact, may do 2 assignments, and that moves their 64 up to a 70 for the 4th marking period, or 68. If you average those scores together, guess what you get? A passing grade is 65, because 65 is the cutoff for an F. So now you went from a failing, not doing anything for 3, almost 4 full marking periods, to now being eligible to graduate. This guy likes to get on in front of people and say he raised Asbury Park's graduation rate from 40% to the high 70s. And the reason why he was able to do that is because of 64 floor plan. Now, there's another component in this, attendance. So here's the second plan. This plan, I want you to think about, John, you and I both know we were late every single day of high school. I know you were in detention every single day for high school. They named the room after you and my 2 brothers, the detention room, because you guys spent 4 years in detention because you were 10 minutes late or 5 minutes late, and you lived 3 blocks away. Me too, right? So we all spent time because we were late. Now, here's the thing. In Asbury Park, and this is what was going to happen through many of the districts throughout the state, he changed the time that they were going to take attendance. So, John, no longer are they going to take attendance when school starts, when you're expected to be there for homeroom. You are now expected to take attendance at 11 a.m.
Wow.
So you can now come in for lunch and then go to your afternoon classes, and you will have been considered attending a full day. So you have a full day's attendance for all those classes that you're getting a 64 minimum that you just had to do one assignment on, and you boost up into passing. So this is what we see going on in Asbury Park. And this guy, before he left, he was trying to get this, and I'm not sure if he did. Honestly, I don't know if he did try to spread this around, but this guy actually has an explanation. He was challenged on this, brother. He was challenged on this by Deacon Scanlon, who is a senator in the New Jersey Senate. I will play you A brief thing. And you, John, before I play it, can you guess as to the reason, the rationale why he thought this was a completely legitimate policy that he was pushing? Because he has a rationale. He sits there straight-faced and lays out an explanation. Can you guess what it is, John?
Yeah, what?
It's a lot, so I'm going to break it down into various things, right? So as a look at the adequacy budget, right, we're looking at two parts of the funding formula. The demographic.
He's going to talk about the demographics suck. You can't compare. You can't compare rural to city to suburban kids because they're all different. Because they're all different. They all have different backgrounds. Blah blah blah. Except for his misunderstanding is that the park testing that they're talking about, Pearson spends millions and millions and millions of dollars to overcome that. And the bottom line is, just like when you take the SAT, the PSAT, and all the other ones, it's to set a standard so you know where to work off of. It's not a you're a bad kid. It's a how can I help you test. It's not meant to ruin your life. It's meant to, oh, you have deficiencies in X, Y, and Z. We need to put something in place so that you, the student, can do X, Y, and Z and overcome those inefficiencies, those failures. So you can accomplish that. That's the point of the park testing. This guy looks at it as, oh, you're a bad kid. You're not going to achieve. You're not going to be able to graduate. The reason why they're not going to be able to graduate is because the school that he ran, it was so many different problems within the school. And it's not money because they sent a ton of money. It's bad leadership, corrupt leadership. It's bad governance inside the schools. And I can tell you stories, John. I'm not going to waste your time on it. They're bad stories. They're unprofessional stories. They're stories that you shouldn't have in any professional facility, but especially ones that have children in there and children who are learning and trying to learn. So, fix the schools, but you fix them not by throwing money, but by throwing professionalism and cleaning out the crap, the parts that's ruining the educational system. But let's hear this guy.
You have at-risk kids, special education. You have a lot of things that kind of go in
again. The system, the test matches that.
Student. If you look at one district in the suburbs and one district.
The kids who are special ed, they get extra time. They're given extra time to accomplish the task. They're given, this is all factored into the test taking. He's lying to us right now, and these senators don't know what they're talking about because they've never been in education. We have people making decisions about the education who have never sat in a classroom other than when they were in high school. So this guy is snowing them. He's blowing smoke up their rear end, and they have no defense on it. You put someone like me in there, and I'll put him in his place with telling him where he's wrong, everything I just said, because he has no answer to those questions. He'll just say what he's going to say in a moment.
The money that you come out is totally different. So I do think as we look at this, and whenever we talk about our formula, it is one of the most equitable school formulas in the country. There it is, John. So now I go back to proficiency versus graduation rate. So we understand our graduation requirements, right? So we have an assessment, but at our assessment, we have different tools. If you don't meet the needs of proficiency.
Again, he's not getting the message. He's throwing smoke up in the air. Oh, it's not just a test. There's different ways they can graduate. Buddy, when you have the 64 floor plan, they don't need the test. Their portfolio is going to be nothing. They're going to be handing in an empty paper. You're going to give them 10 points for it. He's full of doo-doo.
Portfolio. That's another equity piece, right? But now when you look at why you have a 10 to 20% proficiency rate, let's take the state of New Jersey. 27% of our students in the state of New Jersey graduated passing the assessment. 27%. The other 70, I'm not in math, the other 73% graduated a couple of ways, whether it's with one or two different components of passing assessment, alternative, whether language arts and math, or portfolio assessment, or some other ways.
Again, this is more smoke and mirrors. I'm trying to get to the one thing that he says.
Can go back and defend my record as a superintendent there. When I took over the job, we were 49% at graduation rate. Our kids are reading 2 to 3 grade levels below the reading level, below. So now, if you change the organization and you do development in the organization, you put systems in place. Your systems ensure that when I'm looking at the graduation rate, and I'm gonna go on record, graduation rate is a calculation. You look, because as a ninth grade, you look at the cohort of students, so that means that if he goes to
Again,
school
it's
A
more
or
smoke
school
and
B,
mirrors.
they get credit for it. So the graduation rate can fluctuate from year in and year out. For people to say that because your graduation rate is 49% and you go to 83%, I have to start looking at the students that you're questioning. Because if we were in certain communities, you wouldn't have those questions. But we understand in certain communities, the work that we do, we must do it better. At times, we must make sure we have evidence. So to have a district be penalized because their student achievement is lagging behind the other achievement, I'm sorry, that's equity. Because these kids are going by, because the hardest thing.
So, John, it's equity. My computer's dying apparently, but it's apparently equity, but it's not really. It's not really equity like he's suggesting. It's equity as you see what's going on throughout the entire country today, where they're saying because people are black, they don't have the same things, the same opportunities that those white people do. And let me tell you, brother, there is a certain thing that I'll put out there. If you look at the wealthy, the so-called wealthy districts, which are feeding and giving a lot of money to these districts, you can see this is the price per pupil, 31 grand here, 15, 23. They're not cheap per kid. They're not cheap. But you go down here, same dollar amount, John, or less than for Middletown. These districts right here, the bottom three and bottom Berkeley Heights, the wealthiest districts in the state. Those are the wealthiest districts in the state. Berkeley, Milburn, Montgomery, Chatham, West Windsor, Plainsboro. They're the wealthiest districts. They're spending 15, 14, 16 per kid. And look at their numbers, John. 81%, 82%, 87%. They're high up there. This is the real deal. There's some that are low, but there's very big numbers with high graduation rates. And John, I'll even say there's, if you look at economic disadvantage, it isn't there. The point being, these schools are getting the same amount of funding, but they're doing not the job. And there's a reason for it. The kids aren't dumb. The kids aren't incapable. The kids are very capable. They're very smart. And that doesn't, just because they don't have money doesn't mean they're smart or stupid. It means that that is a disadvantage. This school district, this guy is using it as cover so he continue to do a mediocre job, keep these kids stupid, and keep them from advancing in their cities and actually producing stuff and keeping that cradle to court to jail model that they have. They're now skipping the schools and sending the kids straight to jail and juvie. So this is the we've said it before. This is the single biggest one of the single biggest civil rights issues in our country today. And even in a state with New Jersey that has no major city like New York or Pennsylvania or Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, it is a major problem in our city because these districts right here are all the low performing ones, and they also happen to be packed with minorities, brother. That's my story. That's what we have.
Well, I just want to say, James, is the current President Asterisk would say, listen, poor kids, they're just as smart as white kids.
which is really another sign of the problem here, John, is we have people who are running a place that they don't care that they're racist. I mean, he's the one who said Obama was a clean black man, right?
Right. Yeah. Articulate clean, right?
Yeah. So articulate clean. Yeah, but he was friends with a Grand Dragon of the KKK. But again,
I want my Trump back. I want my Trump back.
I want my Trump back too. But this is what we need. And again, hat tip to the reporters over at NJ Education Report who are doing a great job. I do think that there needs to be a thorough investigation. This is something that the Republicans should be hammering on a daily basis. The governor people, the guys who are running for governor, they need to be hammering on a daily basis. Our media outlets that are friendly to us need to be like us, and other ones like us need to be hammering this on a daily basis. This data is available, and the bureaucracy of the Board of Ed, the Byzantine bureaucracy of the Board of Ed, the state commission, needs to be whittled down. But I got to tell you, brother, it's tough. It's tough out there for these poor kids. And the state's not making it any easier for them. And neither are people like Repolelli or whatever you say his name. That's it. That's all.
And now I'll say, since you ended on the last section, now's my part to say, it's all good.
And increasingly, because God loves you.
Right.
Because God loves you. All right, brother.
It's all good.
On that note, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to our Facebook or Twitter. Make sure you tell your friends about us, because the best way to get the message out isn't by us spending money to do sponsoring, because people ignore it. The best way for us to get the word out is for you to tell your friend and say, hey, these guys, this Brotherhood of Liberty, really know how to talk the talk and deliver a message. So make sure you get out there, spread the word, share it. And like I said, tell your friends, hey, all we can do is the best that we can do. God love you. And on that note, brother, take care.
Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!